What's up everybody, FTWitachi here, you know what it is. Thank you all very much for tuning in to today's video where we're going to be going over Warlocks and Shadowlands new ideas with soulbinds, but we're specifically going to be covering the Conduits, which are kind of like a gem slot into a talent tree, or kind of like an addition to a talent tree, if you will. In regards to the soulbinds, which are NPCs or members of specific covenants, there's going to be 3 soulbinds that you can select from. We have already released our Warlock soulbinding video, so if you're interested in seeing the guide on all 12 soulbinding members that you can currently choose as a Warlock, go ahead and check out that video as well. We've also released the Demonology, Destruction, and Affliction guides that go into PvP and PvE areas of the game. And last but not least, we've also spoken about legendaries as well. But this is going to be the last video that we're going to release before Shadowlands. Stay tuned because, again, there's always going to be some changes. You never know what's going to happen, to be honest with you. Every single day there has been changes on PTR and beta. In regards to buffs and nerfs. So when Shadowlands does get released, we're going to go ahead and, of course, experience the leveling process. So come and check us out on the live streams at youtube.com/FTWitachi plays and twitch.tv/FTWitachi plays. We will be live streaming our leveling experience. And of course, once we've hit max level, we're going to go ahead and play test again. And things should settle down by then. And if we do need to change our guides, we will. If we do need to update our guides, we will. And we will be continuing with some more content. So stay tuned until then. However, let's get into Conduits. Conduits also come in 3 basic types. You've got the Potency, which are technically just throughput and DPS effective conduits. You have Endurance, which are defensive and healing types of conduits. And of course you have Finesse, which are basically utility types of conduits. You can respec soulbinds and conduits in much the same as you were if you were doing talents at the Forge of Bonds in your Covenant's Sanctum. So without further ado, let's go ahead and speak and cover, starting off with the Finesse conduits. We will be going into the Finesse, then the Endurance, and then of course we'll be covering all of the Potency conduits, which are the main conduits that you are going to be looking into as a Warlock. First off, we're going to be getting into the Finesse Soulbind conduits for a Warlock. These Finesse conduits provide additional utility to your class. Each class has 4 Finesse conduits which are usable by all specs. First of all, you've got Demonic Momentum. Demonic Circle Teleports increases your movement speed by 30% for 5 seconds, and this can go up depending on the rank of this conduit up to 72%. You got Fell Celerity. The cooldown of Fell Domination is reduced by 48 seconds, and again, this can also get reduced. You've got Shade of Terror. Your fear effects can withstand 100% more damage before breaking, up to 170%. And last but not least, Kilrog's Cunning. Your Eye of Kilrog is no longer stealthed and can now place your Demonic Circle. The casting Warlock must be within line of sight of the Eye of Kilrog to place the Demonic Circle. In addition, the movement speed of your Eye of Kilrog is also increased by 50%, up to 120%. When it comes to these Finesse Soulbinds, again, you're most likely going to be going into the Potency DPS conduits, but there are some situations and some soulbinding talent choices where a Finesse conduit can come into place. So I have these in this specific order, but again, these are utility based, so there isn't really necessary an order, but I'm going to be giving you an order in which ones I prefer the most. Starting off at the bottom, I have Shade of Terror. Your fear effects can withstand 100% more damage before breaking. However, this could even be the best conduit in a Finesse Soulbind situation, because in PvP, being able to have your fear withstand more damage is highly beneficial. So this could be a great conduit for only PvP circumstances. Next up, we got Kilrog's Cunning. It's technically one of my least favorite due to the fact that you have to be in line of sight of your Eye of Kilrog to place Demonic Circle. Other than that, it has its usage, it has its quirks. Next up, we got Demonic Momentum. Increases movement speed by 30%. This can come in play in any given situation in World of Warcraft. especially in a PvE situation. You need a lot of movement, so let's go ahead and use Demonic Circle Teleport, and of course that extra movement speed is definitely going to come in handy. And of course, last but not least, my favorite of the four is Fell Celerity. The cooldown of Fell Domination is reduced by 48 seconds. This is really, really nice in PvP, especially when your pet dies. Insta-cast, insta-summon your pet as quickly as possible is always a great thing to do, especially as a Demonology Warlock, for example. But also in PvE situations, you want to go ahead and get a silenced pet out for a certain situation. Go ahead and do so very, very quickly and rapidly, and go ahead and bring out your other pet as quickly as possible as well. Being able to have that cooldown reduction on Fell Domination can come in handy in very, very minor situations, but again, can come in handy. Up are the Endurance Soulbind Conduits for Warlocks and Shadowlands. Endurance Conduits provide your class with additional defensive value through damage mitigation or increased healing. There are 3 Endurance Conduits available to all 3 specs as a Warlock, so let's go ahead and get to them. You got Accrued Vitality, drain life heals for 44% of the amount drained over 10 seconds up to an additional 100%. You got Diabolic Bloodstone, anyone that consumes your health stone infuses you with 10% leech for 6 seconds up to 24% depending on the rank. And last but not least, Resolute Barrier. Attacks received that deal at least 5% of your health decreases unending resolves cooldown by 10 seconds. Cannot occur more than once every 30 seconds. And when it comes to these, again, they're very, very versatile. They're kind of like finesse utility conduits. These are very utility based. You can use whichever one you want. There is no which one's better than the other. It's basically based off of your playstyle. But when we do get to the potency conduits, which is why I saved them for last, because we're going to be doing a lot of discussion on those, some are better than the others. But when it comes to the endurance defensive conduits, I've got at the bottom Diabolic Bloodstone, because you're relying on party members to go ahead and consume for a beneficial effect, and I do not want to rely on others for a beneficial effect. You got Resolute Barrier at number 2. Which was attacks received that deal at least 5% of your health decreases unending resolves cooldown, which is very, very great. But Accrued Vitality is just the best of the 3 because it's based off of you being able to do something and not having to rely on anything else. And Drain Life heals for 44% of the amount drained over 10 seconds. And again, this can get increased to 100%. So in PvP and even in PvE situations, again, they're very, very minor. But that can be very, very useful, especially when it comes to staying alive in certain situations. So let's get into potency conduits. And last but not least, we have the Warlock Potency Soulbind Conduits. These potency conduits are basically to improve the power of your spells and are spec or covenant specific, meaning there are going to be 4 for Affliction, 4 for Demonology, 4 for Destruction, and of course 4 for your covenant specific conduits, meaning you can use them in any spec. We're going to go ahead and break it up into specs and of course go ahead and go over the 4 covenant specific conduits and then recap with all of them at the very, very end, bringing in those covenant specific conduits into each spec. So let's go ahead, start off with afflictions for potency soulbind conduits. Starting off with Cold Embrace, the effectiveness of Shadow Embrace is increased by 33% up to 75% based off of rank. Corrupting Leer, Agony, and Unstable Affliction damage have a 3% chance to reduce the cooldown of Summon Dark Glare. You also have Focus, Malignancy, Malefic Rapture, deals 15% increased damage to targets suffering from Unstable Affliction. That can go from 15% all the way up to 36%. And last but not least, Rolling Agony. The duration of Agony is increased by 4 seconds up to 9.6 seconds. So in my order, with the Affliction Warlock Potency DPS Conduits, at the bottom I have Rolling Agony. However, there is some usage when it comes to Rolling Agony as a Potency Conduit. Basically, Rolling Agony, the duration of Agony is increased by 4 seconds. This is only useful really in AoE fights, multi-target fights. It just allows you to keep a dot on that target longer, and of course that just equals to more damage when there's multiple targets. Being able to spread your dots, but I do have that at the bottom of the 4 conduits of choice. Next up, we've got Cold Embrace. The effectiveness of Shadow Embrace is increased by 33%. Comparing it to DPS on the other 2 is not as high. And the third option, which is the second best option, Corrupting Leer, where Agony and Unstable Affliction, the damage has a chance to go ahead and reduce the cooldown of Summon Dark Glare, and Summon Dark Glare is a huge offensive DPS cooldown. So that's why I have Corrupting Leer at number 2. It is just a little bit better than Cold Embrace. And of course, the best option for Affliction Warlocks, you just want to go ahead and spam as much as you possibly can with Focused Malignancy. Malefic Rapture, your main spell as an Affliction Warlock, deals 15% increased damage to targets suffering from Unstable Affliction, which Unstable Affliction should be on targets at all times as a specified dot, and this can go all the way up to 36%, so if you can go ahead and get that 36% top rank Focused Malignancy, that is definitely easily DPS-wise, your best Potency Soulbind Conduit as an Affliction Warlock. Next up, we're going to get into the Demonology Warlock Potency Soulbind Conduits in Shadowlands. We got Born of Blood. Hand of Gul'dan has a 16% chance to generate a charge of Demonic Core, all the way up to 38%. Carnivorous Stalkers. Your Dread Stalkers attack have a 3% chance to trigger an additional Dread Bite, up to 7.2%. Fell Commando, your Fell Guard deals 7.5% more damage and takes 7.5% less damage, up to 18%. And Tyrant Soul, after your Demonic Tyrant expires, gain a stack of Demonic Core and increase the damage your demons deal by 10% for 15 seconds. In order from worst to best, when it comes to Demonology, we have Born of Blood at the bottom of this set for Potency Conduits. Hand of Gul'dan, again, 16% chance to generate a charge of Demonic Core, especially if you're playing my spec choice with the talents. It's not really going to be a benefit for you, because getting charges of Demonic Core shouldn't be too difficult at all. And it's just DPS wise, it's not an increase compared to the other 3. Next up, we've got Carnivorous Stalkers. Your Dread Stalkers attacks have a 3% chance to trigger an additional Dread Bite, which is great. But DPS-wise, comparing it to the others, especially with only 3% chance to trigger, it does go up to 7.2%, but it is not enough compared to Fell Commando and Tyrant Soul being the remaining 2. At number 3, when it comes to the Demonology Conduits, the second best is Fell Commando. Your Fell Guard deals 7.5% more damage and takes 7.5% less damage. Great for solo content, and overall is the second best conduit when it comes to DPS-wise, Potency Conduits. And being the best one is Tyrant Soul. After your Demonic Tyrant expires, gain a stack of Demonic Core and increase the damage of your demons deal by 10% for 15 seconds. Again, if you're playing the spec choice, the talent choices that I've chosen in my RNG spec, Tyrant Soul is nonetheless the best conduit that you can choose as a Demonology Warlock, as long as you're playing the playstyle right and everything goes in from there. So let's go ahead and get into the Destruction Warlock Potency Soulbinds. Starting off with Ashen Remains, Chaos Bolt, and Incinerate deal 4% increased damage to targets afflicted by Immolate, up to 9.6. Combusting Engine, Conflagrate increases your remaining Immolate damage by 8% until Immolate expires or is refreshed, up to 19.2%. Duplicitous Havoc. Havoc transfers 10% more damage, up to 24. And Infernal Brand. Your Infernal's melee attacks cause its target to take 2% increased damage from its immolation, stacking up to 15 times, and this can go from 2% up to 4.8% in regards to ranks. When it comes to Destruction Warlocks, at the bottom I have Duplicitous Havoc. It is good, again, for AoE multi-target fights, but other than that, DPS-wise, it is kind of poor. At number 2, the third worst option is Infernal Brand. Your Infernal's melee attacks cause its target to take 2% increased damage from its immolation, stacking up to 15 times. Again, that is also 4.8% increased damage if you have the best rank, and overall it is not the best option of choices when it comes to DPS. Number 2, the third option, the second best option for Destruction Warlocks, we have Combusting Engine. Conflagrate increases the remaining Immolate damage by 8% until Immolate expires or is refreshed. This is very situational. Overall, you're going to find more DPS increase from Ashen Remains by not even doing too much. With Combusting Engine, it just takes a lot of control with playing around with Conflagrate and Immolate to get that high-end DPS, and it's not that much better than Ashen Remains. Ashen Remains overall will give you the higher DPS. Chaos Bolt and Incinerate deal 4% increased damage to your targets afflicted by Immolate, which Immolate should be applied at all times, up to 9.6%. It is nonetheless the best option for Destruction Warlock. Last but not least, we've got the Covenant-specific Conduits. They're not the best of options to go ahead and choose for a Demonology, Destruction, or an Affliction Warlock. In fact, they kind of all fit just above the worst option in each and every single spec's DPS potency conduits. Meaning, so for example, in Demonology, we had Born of Blood as the last option of choice. These Covenant options will just fit right above that and below the top three. So these would become your fourth best options in each and every single spec. However, nonetheless, we're going to get into them anyways. With Soul Tithe for the Kyrian potency conduit, Destruction. When a target dies under the effect of scoring Tithe, gain 10% increased damage to your Chaos Bolt. For Affliction, it's gain 10% increased damage to your Malefic Rapture. And Demonology, gain 10% increased damage to your Demons. Again, these ranks can go higher. Catastrophic Origin for the Venthyr, Impending Catastrophe, damage over time. And the Inflicted Curse lasts 50% longer against your primary target, up to 102%. Fatal Decimation from the Necrolords, Decimating Bolts missiles deal 50% increased damage, all the way up to 115%. And when it comes to Soul Eater from the Night Fae, Soul Rot's damage and radius is increased by 25%, up to 60%. Now to recap for the Affliction Warlock, again, at the top we have Focus Malignancy. Second, we got Corrupting Leer. At third, we've got Cold Embrace. And fourth option is going to be any of the Covenant options that you have selected as your Covenant of choice, which it should be for an Affliction Warlock Soul Tithe from the Kyrian at this moment in time. And then, of course, last but not least, is Rolling Agony at the bottom of your conduits here for an Affliction Warlock. Next up, Demonology Warlocks, you're going to want to go with Tyrant Soul, Fell Commando, Carnivorous Stalkers. At the fourth option, you're going to want to go ahead and hit up your Covenant, which would be Fatal Decimation if you have selected Necrolord, which it should be your option as a Demonology Warlock. And last but not least, Born of Blood. And then, of course, the last spec that we got here is Destruction Warlocks, Ashen Remains, Combusting Engine, Infernal Brand, Soul Tithe as your conduit from the Covenant if you selected Kyrian. Which is your best option for Destruction Warlock at this moment in time. And then, of course, last but not least, Duplicitous Havoc. With all of that being said, again, things can change, especially when it comes to nerfs and increases and buffs and decreases to any of these stats when it comes to these conduits. And, of course, your main goal is to want to go ahead and stack as many potency conduits as you can in the talent choices of your soulbinds. But again, check out our soulbinds guide for more information on soulbinds. Go ahead and stay tuned for some more content in Shadowlands once it gets released. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I hope this video helped you out. If you have any questions, post in the comment section down below. Catch you guys then. Peace out.